Hey, what is going on, guys? This video today is going to be an attempt to help players who feel like they're really struggling to improve as a Fortnite player. I get a comment a lot that goes something like this. Hey bro, I'm a 2KD player, and even though I've already improved from a 1KD player to a 2KD player, I feel like I'm no longer getting better and I'll never be able to get to, say, a 3 or a 4KD. There are many terms for this exact problem in video gaming. Some people call it stagnating, some people call it hitting a plateau, and there are plenty of other terms for this exact phenomenon. Now, I just want to make one thing really clear about stagnating or hitting a plateau as a Fortnite player. Not improving over the span of a few days or 1 or 2 weeks is not really stagnating. It's likely you just had a bad week or a few bad games which ended up skewing the numbers a bit. Stagnating more so refers to a lack of improvement over a longer period of time. Maybe 1 or 2 months, or even a full Fortnite season. So even though the tips in this video are designed for people who are stuck in a Fortnite rut, so to speak, I think they're still helpful even if that doesn't really describe you. So without further ado, let's get right into the tips. Alright guys, so one thing that I see help a lot of players who feel like they're no longer improving is a re-emphasis on the fundamentals of Fortnite. Fortnite players in general seem to have an odd obsession with super flashy and advanced techniques such as crazy ramp rushes, being able to box and trap someone in a build fight, being able to hit flick shots in a shotgun battle, and I'm sure you guys can think of a few other things along the same lines. Now, I'm not saying that those things aren't important, because in certain situations they most certainly are. However, the simple fundamental aspects to being a good Fortnite player are things that you'll probably do 10 to 20 times as much as any of those other advanced tactics I just named. I think a good comparison for this is basically what you see in NBA warm-ups and practices. These guys are the absolute greatest basketball players and some of the absolute best athletes in the world, yet what they do for a large amount of practice and warm-up time are just these super basic fundamentals. Things like free throws, basic layups, wide open mid-range shots, the same things that elementary school players are going to do when they're practicing. It's pretty much the same thing in Fortnite. Things like aiming for the head in close, medium, and long-range fights, making sure to jump and strafe in all of your shotgun fights, taking advantage of left side peeking, basic ramp rush combinations. I could go on, but that's just a few of the basic fundamentals that if you don't absolutely master, good luck continuing to improve as a Fortnite player. I've seen firsthand exactly how players forget about the fundamentals in their gameplay. I recall one specific example from my friend when I told him about the importance of aiming for your enemy's head in shotgun fights. He took note of that exact tip, and for 2 to 3 days straight really tried to implement it into his gameplay. And he actually really did start to make progress with it, but then after those 2 to 3 days, he took a break from playing the game for a little, came back, and he just totally forgot about the tip altogether. And eventually, it began to fade away, and soon enough, he was no longer aiming for the head at all in shotgun fights. I suspect that this happens to a lot of people, and that's why constantly reminding about the simple things that can make you a better Fortnite player can actually help you so much more than you would ever know. The next tip I have for you guys is to attempt to eliminate any bad habits you have from your gameplay. The thing about bad habits in Fortnite is, much like forgetting to aim for the head in shotgun fights, it's very difficult to identify if you don't pay super close attention to your own gameplay and make it a point of emphasis to try to recognize your bad habits. For example, a bad habit that I struggle with more than anything else is always pushing bad fights. I'll be really weak, have no teammate support, and see a team of 3 players just running out in the open, and instead of hiding or running away to re-engage that fight at a later time, which I could easily do, I'll just push it immediately and end up dying a lot more than I would ideally like. This is just one of many somewhat common bad habits that I see in a lot of players' gameplay. Just off the top of my head, some others that I see a ton are refusing to disengage from a losing fight, overbuilding in build fights, having tunnel vision, which basically just means focusing too heavily on one player in a team fight, leaving your back exposed when initially pushing a team. Again, I could probably think of a bunch more, but I think you guys get the gist of it by now. Bad habits are one of those things that if you can eliminate them from your game, it will lead to you seeing an almost instant improvement in your own skill as a Fortnite player. However, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the time the hardest part when it comes to correcting bad habits is actually finding them in the first place. That's why it's good to either play with friends who can critique your gameplay from an outside source, or if that isn't an option, watching your own gameplay in replay mode is actually a pretty decent alternative. So much like a lot of things in life, eliminating bad habits is one of the absolute easiest ways to improve your Fortnite game if you feel like you've hit a plateau. The third tip that we're going to be covering in this video is to avoid going into autopilot mode while playing Fortnite. I actually got this tip from a Call of Duty video about 6 or 7 years ago from a popular YouTuber at the time by the name of XJaws, and you're a real OG if you know who that is. Even though it was a tip for improving as a Call of Duty player, it also works perfectly when applied to Fortnite. The video basically explained what autopiloting is when playing an FPS game. It basically refers to playing the game without putting your full focus into the game. I've noticed this happens in a bunch of different situations during long play sessions, when you consistently keep dying early game, when you go long periods of time without getting any kills. These are all examples of situations that can make you lose focus even though you're still technically playing the game, basically just going through the motions. When you're in autopilot mode when playing Fortnite or any video game for that matter, you A, aren't going to be playing anywhere near your peak skill level, and B, you aren't going to improve since you're barely paying attention to the game. It's like when you zone out in class during a PowerPoint lecture. Yeah, you're still there and you're still facing the screen, but you aren't actually learning anything. I've learned that the best way to counter autopiloting in Fortnite is to try new things while playing the game. My friends and I will pretty much always go tilted, but if I notice someone's really struggling and we're starting to lose focus, we'll switch up the landing and try really hard to get a win. If I notice myself personally going into autopilot mode, I'll try out a new weapon that I normally don't use. If you can prevent yourself from going into autopilot mode, it'll make it so that you aren't wasting your time while playing Fortnite, and we're going to get into how important that is with our next tip. The next item on our list is the importance of keeping a consistent playing schedule if you want to continue to improve as a Fortnite player. I know this is something that's going to just be absolutely different on a case-to-case basis depending on your own situation. You know, if you're someone that just goes to school, comes home, and then immediately plays Fortnite for the rest of the day, this probably isn't that difficult for you to achieve. However, if you're someone that plays sports after school or works a full-time job where you're getting home at, 6 or 7 o'clock and then you go to bed at 9 or 10, it can be a lot more difficult for you to include playing Fortnite in with all of your daily responsibilities. However, I just want you guys to know the negatives of taking breaks from Fortnite. And I'm talking about times of, 2 to 3 days straight, maybe a week straight, where you just don't play the game at all. Fortnite's a game that's very mechanically and mentally involved, and also is a game that is ever changing with all of the patches and map updates. That means if you don't play Fortnite for even just a few days, you're going to come back and it's going to be like you're playing a totally different game, even if there wasn't an update or change to the map. Just because the game requires so much intense, quick movement with things like building and shotgun fights, and a lot of mental involvement when it comes to making smart plays and positioning, it just seems like taking a break from Fortnite sets you back so much more than the same break would on a game like 2K 2K or Madden. I mean, there are times I won't play 2K or Madden for, 2 or 3 months straight, come back, and it'll feel like nothing changed. I'm the same player I was before the break. However, with Fortnite, I can tell you guys firsthand, you guys know how much I play Fortnite. Literally at least 1,000 games every single season. During this season, I took a 2-week break where I really didn't play Fortnite at all during a vacation. I came back and it legitimately took me not just a session or a day or 2 days, probably 1 to 2 weeks, about 100 or 200 games for me to feel like, alright, now I'm back to where I was before this break. So again, I'm not going to try to tell you guys how to live your lives. I know that everybody watching this video is going to be operating on a totally different life schedule than the next guy. However, what I can tell you guys, no matter your schedule, is to try to limit prolonged periods of not playing the game as much as possible. Let's say you can only play Fortnite for 5 hours in a given week. You don't want to not play Sunday through Friday and then play for 5 hours straight on Saturday. It would be much more ideal to break it down like 1 hour on Monday, 1 hour on Wednesday, 1 hour on Thursday, 1 hour Friday, and then 1 hour on Sunday. Or even better, something like 45 minutes per day for all 7 days of the week. Because if you take these extended breaks, you're basically going to be spending all of your time when you actually do play just trying to get back to the skill level you were at before the break, which means you have no time for improvement, really. If you keep a consistent play schedule, you can dedicate almost all of your play time to actually improving as a player and enjoying the game. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications, do whatever the heck you want, and I will catch you guys next time.